Previously on Time to Talk. We are going to start going through the book of Genesis. So it's almost like a mini Bible study. Do you know why this one was picked as the first book of the Bible?
Yes, I actually do. Well, here's the logical explanation. We know that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, and he is being a leader for the people. He's being God's voice for the people. And if I am a person who's an Israelite, I need to have questions answered, just like we need questions answered too. The questions are, who am I? Where did I come from? And Genesis answers that on, where did the nation of Israel come from? The word Genesis means origin, so you get the origin of Israel.
Where it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. You can believe that first statement, then any miracle in the Bible you can pretty much believe, because creation in itself is a miracle.
I would go with that totally. I think that's great.
Chapter 1's theme is the beginning. It talks about how God, like you said, built the house, which is the world. So would you say that could be in correlation with evolution in a sense of how, maybe not evolution, but they have proof. Do they have proof of the Big Bang Theory, or it's a theory?
It's a theory. In regards to the text, I know some people say, well, I believe that God made the world, but he used evolution to do it. I think they're trying to have both ways here. A strict evolutionist, it cannot coincide with the Bible. How it reads is that God creates the world in a very short amount of time, and that blows people away. Evolution is the millions and billions of years.
I think God created the world in that amount of time.
Right.
So you or Christians should believe that the world was created in 7 days, which is our time of days, 24-hour.
Oh man, you're way ahead of the game. It says, and where do we get days from? I've had some people, even Christians, talk to me who say, hey, look, there's a day in there where the sun isn't created. So how can you say that maybe a day was 1,000,000 years? But the mistake of this is when a person says, well, the sun, not all these things were set up yet, and so it couldn't have been a day. Please understand that the sun and the moon, yes, we use them to measure time, but they don't create time. It's just the way we use time. In fact, the book of Genesis says, I'm putting these stars up, and they're going to help keep time on the earth. But it doesn't make time. God's the one who makes time. As soon as it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, then time begins. God's the one who creates time. Clocks and stars and moons, they keep track of time. They measure time, but they don't make time. God's the one who makes time. And anyways.
Interesting. And time is different from in here and in space and around the world. Because if you go to space, it's almost as if you're looking at the past, right?
Well, I guess I understand what you're saying in that people say the rays that are hitting us now have actually been traveling from certain stars for a super long time. I'm not quite sure what to say to that. It's almost, I think that's logical. But still, that start, I'm not quite sure how to deal with that. I don't know.
I think that's how God did it.
Mm-hmm.
If he's omnipresent, then he can, that's how I feel like he uses time in order to see the past, the present, the future. So it makes sense, because I definitely associated time with the sun and the stars and the moon and all of that, but it definitely makes sense that if you take those things out of it, God created time.
Yeah. I don't know if have you ever seen the original Superman movie?
I have.
Okay, Lois Lane dies.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does Superman do? He starts spinning around the world the other way, so the time will go backwards. Doesn't work that way, I don't care if you're spinning the world around. It doesn't matter. Still, time is there.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Cool.
This
Okay. So anything, let's see.
Oh man, there's so much I can keep on.
Yeah.
I'd like to keep on going. I want to just go. It's interesting because we have this theory of evolution, and then creation goes against it. And creation also has gone against the theories of creation that existed back in the day. Uh, when the Israelites are entering the promised land, they are encountering peoples that have different ideas about creation. Creation was the result of a war between the gods, or the earth is the dead corpse of one of the gods. All right, and now people live in it. But it's not the result of war. It's the result of a life giver giving life. It is not a destruction, the result of a destruction. It is the work of creation. It is the work of one God creating everything. Then later on, this is when Israel is entering into the promised land. Then you move forward, and the big theme was, oh, look, this flesh, this world is inferior. The material world is inferior. There is a spiritual world that is higher, and that world is dominated by the supreme God. But how did this world come from? Well, the supreme God, there's lesser gods than him. They're called archons. And then there's lesser gods than those. Those are called aeons. And eventually there's such a distinction between supreme God and the last God, who's called the demiurge or the demiurge, that God has nothing to do with the creation of the world. It was the demiurge that created everything. But our goal is to get out of this creation that the demiurge created and spiritually arise to the supreme God who's in a spiritual world. So the goal in some ways for people is to have your soul released from the body and then get up to the supreme being. And how can you do that? When you're here on earth, you accumulate specific knowledge that will allow you to reach that after you die. So Christians are like, what? Not only is these multiple gods that you're dealing with, you're acting as if the God who made the heavens and the earth, according to Genesis, that he's an inferior God? No, he's one God, and he's almighty and superior God. And he made this world, and this world, as the text says repeatedly, Genesis chapter 1, he makes stuff and he calls it what? Do you remember? He calls it good. He makes something and then keeps calling it good. Not inferior or bad. He calls it good. And so one of the reasons why we have the Apostles' Creed and the way that it's written the way it is that it was the church saying to the world, the first thing, I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. That was something that was different than the popular religion around them.
Well, what religion was that?
This is called Gnosticism.
Gnosticism.
And it infiltrated, not only was it a kind of religion in and of itself, but it infiltrated all kinds of religions. There became even Christian Gnostics. There became even Jewish Gnostics, who are like, we want to explain this world away from Genesis to make it coincide with this teaching about the supreme being and the demiurge and all the gods that are in between. And the Apostles' Creed is saying, our God is a creator God, and he is the almighty God, and creation is good, and he's comfortable. In fact, he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to become part of creation. He doesn't think it stinks.
Right.
He wants to lift it back up to where it was. It has fallen, but he's going to lift it back up through the work of his son. And anyway, so Christianity has always had these competing philosophies that said, no way, no way, no way. And basically these things were theories back then, and kind of like evolution is a theory right now. Okay, so Christianity's always been dealing with counter beliefs its whole existence. And so a lot of things that I'm saying right now are straight from the book of Genesis. He makes things and he calls it good. What does this mean for us? What's interesting is that God is calling things good even before he makes man and woman in that Genesis chapter 1. So he is saying that his creation has a value. It's good. Even without man and woman here on earth, it's good. Sometimes I'm afraid that Christians, devalue the rest of creation, and they almost turn into those Gnostics. Well, what really matters is you die and you go to heaven. And who goes to heaven? Well, your soul goes to heaven. And I've heard Christians say, "Oh, I don't care about my body. It's just going to rot and turn to dust here on earth." No, we just celebrated Easter a few days ago. He is risen. It matters. This matters to God. Jesus didn't come out as a ghost. He came out as the risen Christ in body and soul. And he had the disciples touch him. He ate them. When he didn't eat the disciples.
Oh, no. I thought we talked about cannibalism.
He ate with them. I am sorry.
He ate them. I just imagine Jesus with a large mouth and like eating. Anyway.
It's funny. I got to get back up here. I keep going for a minute.
But anyway, so he ate with them.
And the whole message of the resurrection is that the body matters. He rose from the dead, okay, in body and soul. The soul matters, but what is a human being? A human being is body and soul. So, anyways.
Okay, and that's all in the first chapter of the Bible?
I mean, all this stuff coincides with the first chapter of the Bible, that everything he makes, he calls it good. And it's at the end that he makes humanity. But does Jesus say, "Oh, in humanity, number one over everything"? No, actually, it is number one over everything. But why is humanity created? He's supposed to take care of creation. All right? Humanity is the number one part of creation. And in Genesis chapter 3, humanity falls and brings creation along with it. But humanity is the ruler of creation. But God wants him to be a good ruler, not a tyrant. Now, here's where you can have problems today. Some Christians will just say, "The creation's going to go anyways. What matters is heaven." No, part of the Bible story is that God is going to reclaim all of his creation. This is very evident in, say, a book of Colossians and the book of Romans. Paul even says all of creation is waiting for the redemption of the sons of men, meaning when God's people rise from the dead, then creation's going to be celebrating. How is that going to look? I don't know. But if God's just going to get rid of creation, I don't know why it would celebrate. All right? It's looking forward to that day.
Mm-hmm. And with the world now, I think people are to the point where they're like, well, this is going to all go to crap here anyway, so we need to plan for the future and travel to a different world.
Wow! You know what? That is something that isn't a lot of science fiction, but people are saying that now.
Yeah, like I know Elon Musk is trying to see if he can get Mars. I think it's Mars, one of those planets.
Is that why he's doing it? Because he thinks this world's going to pot, so we better go somewhere else?
Yeah.
Wow, I did not realize that. My son works for Elon Musk.
I don't know for sure. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. That's just what I gathered. Based on different things that I've seen or read. But I believe that the world could be restored.
Well, it's definitely
the waters and the plants and everything. If we did take care of the world more, I think it could be restored. The atmosphere could get better.
Yeah. That's where things get iffy. It's really not iffy in the Bible. Should humanity take care of creation? Absolutely. God took Adam and Eve, and they were supposed to work the Garden of Eden. Okay? Things have a value. And man and woman are supposed to be kings over creation. They share the image of God. This is in Genesis chapter 1. God creates man and women in God's image. Mm-hmm. And then he says, you're supposed to rule over creation. And so what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to be stewards. They're supposed to be good rulers. Now, what's debatable is what's the best way to take care of the world. But no Christian should say, the world doesn't matter. Whatever you do, just throw your stuff out. You know, this is not how we're going to stay anyways. We're going to heaven. The goal of the Bible is that heaven's going to come down to earth. God's going to come down to earth, make everything perfect. And you could say as it would have been or should have been, and even better. And so that's the goal of creation. And sometimes I'm afraid Christians have lost that through time. Their goal seems to be dying and going to heaven, which, as I said on Easter Sunday, is great, but it's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is Jesus to return. The ultimate goal is resurrection. That's the thing that solves everything. Christ's return. Anyways, but we can keep on going with Genesis.
Yeah. 2. So Genesis 2.
Oh, I want to keep on doing 1. I just can't stop. Yeah.
Okay.
People don't know that sometimes people will say, oh man, where's the Trinity? The Trinity's not in the Bible. The Trinity's in the Bible. Well, it's not in the Old Testament. Hey, check it out. It says that God created the heavens and the earth in the beginning. And then it says that the Spirit of God was hovering above the waters. All right. And then what does God say? He says, let us make man in our image. Now, who's he talking to? The Bible is very clear that it's God who's the creator. It's not the angels who are the creator. Now, when I think to myself, John Schroeder, what am I going to do today? I don't say, John Schroeder, what are we going to be doing today? Mm-hmm. It says, let us make man in our own image. God is talking to himself as if he's in the plural.
Right.
And that's what Christians believe, that God is a plurality, but he's also singular. This is the great mystery of the Trinity, but how else do you describe what's going on in Genesis 1 without that?
Right.
So I just want to say the Trinity becomes clear in the New Testament, but it's there in the Old Testament.
Right.
The New Testament makes the Old Testament clear that the Trinity's always been around. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyways, that's a very important thing. We're not like making up our new God in the New Testament, that there was an old God and then a new God in the New Testament. No, he's been the same God always. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very evident from the text.
Right.